All right, and welcome back, everyone. Thank you for the time today. My name is Colton Howard. I'm your Maximo technical specialist here at IBM. So I'm your go-to guy for any Maximo related demonstrations, product demos, deep dives, or even just bringing in the right people to make sure that our projects are a success. I'm here to support you all. For this demonstration that we're going to be doing today, we're really going to be focusing on Maximo HSE. And there's three things that we'll cover as part of this demonstration. The first is some of the challenges that our clients are facing today. The second is what Maximo HSE is and how does it solve, is used to solve a lot of these challenges. And then lastly, we'll do a demonstration of the actual product. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the video or just reach out to me by my email. I'll include that in the comments as well. So starting with some of the challenges our clients are facing today, clients are challenged in increased risk to people, processes, and their environment for a variety of different reasons. This could be standard operating procedures not being followed, leading to an incident, lack of change control in their operations, lack of visibility into reporting on these incidents, doing these investigations, or being able to prove regulatory compliance in the case of an audit or a requirement that states you have to report on all incidents. A lot of these regulations, such as those from the EPA, OSHA, for example, failure to report on and maintain incident records can lead up to fines up to $15,000 to $16,000 per violation. And then repeated violations can incur up to 10 times that amount, 160,000 per violation. So not to mention the indirect costs such as reputation, legal action, turnover from employees not feeling safe. So there's a lot of really compelling reasons for companies to adopt using tools like Maximo HSE. And that's what we're going to see in the demonstration here today. And no, we're not going to be going through 1,000 different slides. I just have one more slide and then we'll jump into the demo. Clients want the ability not only to track incidents, conduct investigations, but they want to be able to manage processy changes, enforce SOPs, and report at a click of the button. So, and most importantly in all of this, just make sure that you're making sure that there's a safer work environment for your employees. So let's talk a little bit about what Maximo HSE is, and it really tackles these challenges. It's not uncommon for clients to see increases in productivity, adoption of using the Maximo tool, using Maximo HSE to log incidents, conduct investigation, make changes to processes, and just taking corrective and preventive action when when looking at the safety of your workers, and also to be used for reporting capabilities. And here are some of the key benefits that clients realize in doing so. So reducing, we talked a lot about those fines, ensuring that we can report to those governing bodies, EPA, OSHA, ensuring a workplace safety. So with this in mind, there's a lot of capabilities that comes out of the box with Maximo HSC, and we're going to cover quite a bit of these in this demonstration. So with that, let's go ahead and jump over to Maximo, and we can get this party started. Perfect. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be playing the role of an employee or even a technician who's typically the first line of defense and first to notice and report issues that could impact safety, productivity, or compliance. So in the past, these employees, these technicians, did not have standard procedures for recording incidents, which led to increased risk and unsafe work environment. So as a technician or employee, I want to make sure that when an incident occurs, we can quickly report on the incident to ensure proper investigation and implement future mitigation activities to improve overall work safety. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to log into my environment. So here we'll type in C. Howard. There we go. Now, as part of creating an incident, before we even get to there, as a technician employee, I've logged into my environment. Here I have is where I'm shown within the Maximo application suite all the applications that I have access to. Now, for Maximo HSC, the application I'm going to be using more often than not is our manage application. So let's go ahead and click into manage. And as you can see here, there's a lot of different applications that I have access to as a technician. Now, in order to find the application that I need to create an incident on, all I have to do is type in my favorite little search bar in the top left-hand corner. I type in create incidents and click create. And now within Maximo, out of the box, we really break down incidents into four key areas. The first is what happened. The second is where did it happen? What did you do about it? And lastly, who is involved? So as part of this incident, we're going to go ahead and type in what happened. This was an incident that was an injury. It was minor. Let's say as part of the summaries, let's just go ahead and put as a technician, I was witness to an incident that was caused by refrigerant spill. We can also include, for example, Colton slipped on the floor because he's partially clumsy, but also because there's a leak in and that refrigerant was spilled onto the shop floor. Next, what's really important for the documenting of these events is to also include a sequence. So for this, we can say that we have Colton who's in proximity of the HVAC system when he slipped and fell. We can include what type of event this was. It was an injury, it was minor. We're also going to want to include an event for the actual leak itself. So there was indeed a leak. It was, let's say that it was a major leak in this scenario, and that, and the reason why we categorize this as minor, major is because this all rolls into reporting as well. And then as part of the attachments, common attachments would be a picture if you are on a mobile device creating these incidents, or if you have documents readily available that you want to include in part of this incident, you can do that as well. So the next component of this and key part of creating an incident is where did it happen? So instead of entering all this information regarding the address, all I have to do is really associate the asset ID. Now, if you have set this up in Maximo, it'll auto-populate the location, service, address, all of that just by entering the asset number. So let me just go ahead and one thing to point out too is more and more companies, more than not, are actually associating these records with QR codes, barcodes. So instead of having to manually go through like I did that for the purpose of this demonstration, but you can also scan QR codes, barcodes to fill in this information automatically as well. The next part of this incident we're going to want to fill out was who all was involved. So here, pretty plain and simple, we'll say is Colton, and we can include additional information such as email, describe their role in the incident, their phone number, any additional information we want to include as well. Action taken. So let's say for this this use case that we set up a warning in the place so that others wouldn't fall victim to the same incident that Colton underwent. So here we'll say the action was taken, Colton was evacuated from the area, we place an warning of the system. Now, one thing to point out is all the default values that you see here are typically changed from location to location, site to site, customer to customer. And so these are very flexible. I'm just showing you really what's out of the box that you can quickly configure and make and personalize to your own. So with that, as a technician, this is how I can quickly now report on incidents, either from my mobile device or laptop or really any device that I have access to that I can put in a request from quickly and efficiently. And this is to, again, help ensure proper investigation and mitigation into overall work safety. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and submit this for my safety officer to review. And with that, we can just return to our start center. So with that, we're going to go ahead and switch roles. So we just reviewed the role of a technician, how they would operate and overall and see overall improvements to their day-to-day by using Maximo to create incidents. So now we're going to switch roles to more of a supervisor or even a safety officer or coordinator's role Where as safety officer in the past, I didn't have any visibility into incident management, progress of investigations, KPIs related to HSE. And this was a challenge for me in the past. Now, as a safety officer, I want a quick way to visualize the KPIs that I am measured on around safety and the ability to review incidents, track statuses across its life cycle. And with Maximo, I can now do that in a quick and efficient way. So as a safety officer, I open up Maximo and I move over to my incident and near miss analytics dashboard. This is a dashboard that comes with Maximo HSC that is configured specifically for this role. So as a supervisor or safety officer, I want visibility into our overall incident performance. Where are we versus our targets? A breakdown by type, location. What is our response time and average resolution time? As a safety officer or supervisor, I want to be able at the click of the button to be able to report on all of this information and visualize it to ensure work safety and compliance. So here we can see that the injury along with damage are pretty much our top incidents. And we are not meeting our targets for this year. So I'm going to want to act and put in changes to our processes to ensure a better future and better safety conditions for our workers. So let's go ahead and drill into that incident that one of our technicians created earlier. And so a quick way to do this, I can set pre-defined queries where I can quickly pull up the information I need. I can quickly filter it based off of those that are new that may have come into our system. And here we can see the incident that we just created earlier. And another easy way to do this too is to filter by report by. And here we can see that incident that we just created. So let's go. So here we can look at all the key information that was brought over from that incident record that was created by our technicians. Here we can see the exact address of the location that we entered earlier. Now, this was auto-populated from the asset record. So this wasn't something we manually entered. It was brought in automatically based off of the information already in Maximo. Down below, we can see who reported it, the details, its priority, and other key details associated with this record. Here we see the vicinity, the details. Now, one thing to point out over here is if we go to regulations, if we feel this applies to a regulation, we can apply that here. So here we can go into our regulatory compliance. We can look at all the different regulatory records that we have in our system. Now, for refrigerant specific, we could go ahead and begin our search and populate some of the regulations that we have around refrigerant. And I'm going to drill into one just to show you what this looks like. So for example, the EPA has a set limit on acceptable refrigerant leak rates for different types of equipment and typically requires repairs within a specific time frame if leaks exceed these rates. OSHA has a very similar requirement as well for equipment safety, including HVAC systems. That way, it helps protect workers from potential hazards. And from a reporting standpoint, it's really important to us to include this in the incident record, especially for a reporting standpoint where we need to report for these specific regulations. We can quickly filter and populate a report based off of these specific regulations. So that is what's really important here. And as we scroll down, we can see some of the key information, such as who's the authority, what region, what country, what are some of the key sections within the regulations that this applies to, where it's currently used, what assets, operating procedures. We can see all of that information with Maximo. And leadership, once you report on all of this information, leadership or those responsible for the safety of their employees could use this information to improve things, like preventive maintenance strategies for HVAC systems, standard operating procedures to make the workplace environment even more safe. So let's go ahead and return to our incident record so we could include our regulations there. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. We see Colton Howard that was populated. Some other records that are key that I want to point out as well, such as hazards. what type of hazards are associated with the incident, what type of precautions should be taken with this hazard. So we can go ahead and either select a value here. Let's say, for example, we have refrigerant chemicals. If we were to actually open up this hazard, we can see not only do we have some key information around what type of hazardous material, its flammability, but we can also see some of the precautions. And a lot of the times when we include this, for example, in work orders, the way that a lot of companies today set up Maximo is that unless these precautions are followed, the technicians or whoever's working on this asset that has this hazard can't even begin the work until they've read through the precautions and approved that they are following standard operating procedures. So that's just a really good point to mention as part of this. Risk assessment, we may want to include as part of this incident what risk assessments are used to prevent these incidents. These assessments are proactive processes aimed at identifying potential hazards and assessing the risks associated with them before an incident occurs. So maybe as part of our future process changes, we may want to modify this so this incident doesn't happen again. So if we want to associate that as well, and I'll show you an example of that really quick, we can bring up, let's bring up refrigerant leak chemicals, for example. This is going to have a very this is going to have all the key information we need around what is it that we do today to prevent these type of incidents. So here we can see all the key information around risk assessments, one of which is really important to HSE, is around lockout tagout procedures. So as part of this assessment, the process of isolating an HVAC system, what all is involved in this process. And here we can see for our lockout tagout procedures, this includes the turning off the electrical system, draining refrigerant from the actual asset itself, and other key information involved in this overall process. As we scroll down even further, we see the inherited risks and precautions. As part of an assessment, there's typically an approval process involved in this. So reviewers, approvers. Now, when these tasks get assigned to these individuals, it'll show up in their assignment section within their dashboard. And I can show you all an example of that in a little bit. Checklist. These tasks that are completed as part of the overall risk assessment. So here we just have one action, which is to isolate the system. Any environmental risks associated with this assessment is also going to be included here. So any information related to that. But let's go ahead and go back to our incident record. These are just key capabilities I oftentimes see client using as part of the HSE application. So I wanted to make sure that I included it as part of today's presentation. The next thing that component we'll cover as a safety officer, I'm going to also want to review not only the information that we got from the record, but additional information around the events. So here's the sequential events that we saw listed earlier. Now, in the solutions tab, we're going to come back to this a little bit later, but as a safety officer, after we create an investigation, we're also going to want to include information on the results of our root cause analysis. So after we've done our investigations, after we've done our root cause analysis, we're going to want to include as part of wrapping up this incident what the solution was in order to complete this or close this incident record. Now, what's important for me as a safety officer is to now update the status of this incident. Now, this gives our individuals who created the incident originally an update on where we are in this process. So here we're going to update it to say that it is in progress, just to update our teams. And once that is done, we can go ahead and create an investigation. Once the investigation is created, you can see it automatically popped up in our related records. So let's go ahead and drill into this investigation and start this investigation process in order to begin the next phase of this incident management process. So we're going to go ahead, go to the investigation. Now, the investigation is more of a reactive process. Earlier, we saw the risk assessment, which is typically done proactively in order to ensure the safety of others. Investigation is more of a reactive process. So we're initiating this after the incident or a near miss has occurred. And the primary goal here is to determine root cause of the incidents to prevent any type of reoccurrence in the future. This is a collaborative document where all parties involved can contribute to this root cause analysis. Now, the investigation itself, as you can see, pulls up a lot of the information from our record or our incident record automatically. And so at the top, we're going to want to include that this is a root cause analysis. We're going to go one, because this is going to include multiple individuals involved, we're going to want to head and create an investigation lead. Now, one of the things a lot of clients consider when conducting root cause analysis is to actually look into the asset record and look at the failure modes of an asset or a system. So just really quickly, because this is really important to a lot of clients using Maximo today, we can drill into this HVAC system. And if we go down to failure class, this will actually list out all of the problem cause remedy failure codes for this system. And you're probably asking yourself, okay, why is this important to me as a safety coordinator or a safety officer? Well, this can actually tell us what is a typical leak as a problem. What are some of the causes? What are some of the remedies? So as you see, as I'm clicking through these problems, it's actually changing the problem cause remedy. And so for a typical leak within the system, maybe it's refrigerant leak, a typical cause for that, it has to do with the evaporator coil and corrosion against it. And the remedies is to seal it by torching. And so all this information is really key as I'm going through this investigation to understand, because that's going to directly impact what activities we create for our users to go out and complete. So the next part of this, as a safety officer, I'm going to go ahead and create activities for our teams. And we're going to assign various functions to this team. Similar to how you create tasks within a work order, what is the work that needs to be done to close out this investigation? So the first thing that we're going to create is we're going to go ahead and isolate contacts from the system. Let's go ahead and save this record. We're going to go ahead and do an inspection of the evaporator. Go ahead and save that as well. And you don't always have to save after each individual activity. I just like to do it in the case there's someone else in this demo environment. So here we can also include repair leak. There's other additional information we may want to assign as well, such as the estimated duration, start time, finish, scheduled. And this is all a priority as well. We may want to involve a sequence. Now, by leaving sequence blank, all of this can be done in parallel. And in a second, you're going to see me approve and assign the work to individuals. But let's go ahead and save the record and approve these activities. So here we're going to go ahead and say this is approved. Let's go ahead and approve the rest. Click OK. Set to approved. And we're going to also want to assign either a group of individuals. Maybe there is a group of individuals who pool the different type of activities and tasks needed to be completed, or you can select a individual to do the task as well. So here we can just say we need it done by Colton. So he's now assigned to this task, and so on and so forth. One thing to include is part of this process. I'm not going to go ahead and assign owners to each one of these, but I will show you as well as a safety officer, I'm going to want to go ahead and assign labor to each of these tasks as well. So let's go ahead and just say, um, let's go ahead and say for the first activity, we can assign it to, for example, maybe an electrician. Maybe an electrician's the one that needs to go and isolate the system. So here we'll go ahead and select the value. We'll type in Colton. We'll choose our electrician, and it'll automatically pop and populate information such as their hourly rate, what type of labor are there, what are their regular hours, what is the general ledger account, which is this going to be billed to. So a lot of these activities, especially when it's a labor resource that's billed, can be included in this investigation. The next thing that we're going to want to look at as part of this is the analysis tab. So let's say we've assigned and approved all of these tasks to be done. The tasks have been completed. So we have uh, finish times for all of these related tasks. The next thing that we're going to want to do is go to our analyses tab within the investigation. Now, as a safety officer, one of the things that I typically see used within Maximo HSE is to record and to complete an analysis and to record the exact results of the investigation. So for this example, the information that came back was that there was indeed a leak caused by the evaporated coil that caused the refrigerant to go onto the floor. And we can confirm that it was indeed by corrosion or cracks over time. So as you can see here, Maximo does support root cause and failure analysis. Now for this demonstration, we're going to go ahead and input some information into this cause analysis. So here we can say a leak that was caused by corrosion. We can add another line item that says the corrosion was then called by age. And we're going to relate this back to this first line item and say, yes, this was indeed the root cause. So with that, as a safety officer, not only did I create an investigation based off of the incident that was brought in, but I also did a little bit of investigation on my own into the asset record to look at some of the failure modes. I also created a bunch of activities that I was able to quickly assign to individuals to go out and conduct the investigation as a team, report back, and include all their information into one singular investigation report. And now that we have completed the investigation, completed our root cause, we've finished our root cause analysis, we can now close out this investigation and go back to the incident record. So now that that's done, what I'm also going to want to do is go into failure reporting. Now, this is very important for me as a safety officer, not only to give the individuals involved in this incident a information on what exactly occurred, but also as we look at as we report on this information, look at all the incidents that have happened over the past quarter, year, we're going to want to know, okay, what was a lot of the problem cause remedy solutions involved, because that may impact how we do things such as preventive maintenance, what frequency we do preventative maintenance to ensure these events never happen again. What type of risk assessments do we need to modify in order to be more proactive on this incident in the future? So here for the failure reporting, we saw the problem was the leak, the cause was the evaporator coil, the remedy was to seal the evaporator coil so that there was no longer a leak. And then the last thing that we're going to do as a safety officer within this incident record is to go ahead and give information on the solution that we found. So here we'll just enter after the investigation. We found that an HVAC leak was caused by corrosion in the evaporator quarter. We dispatched a team to resolve the leak. And moving forward, we're going to create a management of change request to be put in to increase preventive maintenance inspections on these systems moving forward. So with that, let's go ahead and save the record. And before we close out this incident record, we're actually going to go ahead and create an MOC request to be approved, and then finally create a management of change. So here we see the request has been created, very similar to how we found the investigation so quickly. We can see that we associate an MOC request here. Let's go ahead and open up that MOC request. Now, what we're going to want to do here is we're going to go ahead and scroll down and see some of the key information that's already been populated for this MOC request. Now for this request, we're going to want to request that there is a preventative maintenance change. And we're going to want to reduce the overall frequency of one of the preventative maintenance. So here we can type in HVAC. We can see that there is a quarterly inspection for our HVAC systems, and this is the preventative maintenance number. I can go ahead and open this up for you all so that you can see it. What's important here, so here's our preventive maintenance for all of our HVAC systems that this applies to. As we can scroll down, we can see that there's a job plan for the inspections, when it was last completed, what priority within our business this is. But what's really important here for me as a safety officer is to see what the current frequency is today. And here we see that it's every 90 days. With the amount of incidents that we're seeing, according to my dashboard, we may want to reduce this down to 60 instead of 90, or maybe even 30. So with this, just to ensure that inspections are a part of the job plan, we can go ahead and click job plan and see all of the related tasks involved in this job plan. And here we do see that this includes an inspection that needs to happen. So we just want to go ahead and reduce the overall frequency of this preventive maintenance schedule. So here we reference the preventive maintenance. We're going to go ahead and say, hey, we need to reduce this or change this from 90 to 60. And the reason why is because we want to prevent further injury and maybe include leaks in the workplace. So here we're going to go ahead and click save. Now, this can go through a normal approval process, but for the purpose of this demonstration, let's just go ahead and click approved and return back to the incident record. So now you can see there has been an MOC request. This should update to approve. But now that this is done and is updated, once the MOC request is approved, we can go ahead and create an MOC record. And as part of this record, we want to immediately go over, this is going to contain a lot of the similar information that we had prior, but we're going to want to go ahead and as part of the post-start information, we're going to want to go ahead and assign an action that includes, for example, HVAC PM. We're going to want someone to update the HVAC PM from 90 to 60 days. We're going to say we're going to need this to be done by Colton Howard, and we can go ahead and save the record. As this is being completed, this record will be updated by Colton Howard once he has completed it. He can include a sign-off date of which this action was completed. Once that's done, we can say that this is change the status to closed. And then last but not least, go back to the record itself and change its status to closed. And that is the workflow of what is all involved in a typical incident management process within Maximo HSC. So we've seen quite a bit here. And now from a safety officer's or even a supervisor's perspective, they now have visibility into incidents that occur, progress of investigations. They have a easy way to view their key performance indicators related to HSC. They now have a quick way to visualize all of their KPIs around safety, the ability to review incidents, track statuses across their life cycle. Maximo allows them to do that in a quick and easy way. And with that, that was the demonstration that I had for you all today on how Maximo can help reduce risk to people, processes, and the environment. And just as importantly, how to reduce compliance and safety-based fines and how to enforce SOPs through Maximo. So with that, thank you for your time. I look forward to working with you all. And if you have any demo requests, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to walk you all through anything that you'd be interested in learning more about. Thanks again.